You know what? The engine's not even running right now.
It all died. Everything died. Phone died. The car died. My spirit and soul died. At least the car can come back to life. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Just in case you didn't know, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Brian.
And right now, it's snowing out. So once again, just to play it safe, we're going to park here for a little bit as we recap. So spoilers up ahead, because we're going to be talking about the Benders episode of Supernatural.
And we're also going to be taking a look at one of the most terrifying monsters, and that's man.
Buckle up and let's go. Or just sit right here.
Just sit right here.
Yeah.
You know, it's another Hookman episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go! Our episode starts off in Hibbing, Minnesota, which I found interesting looking back, just rewatching, because we later meet Donna Hanscom in a much later season, who is the sheriff of Hibbing, Minnesota. And
Oh, Donna.
we also have an episode later on in season 10, which is titled Hibbing 911, where they actually go back to Hibbing. And I haven't looked forward into the episode to see if there's any reference on this episode in there, but I would like to think that the writers kept that in mind when they reused the town and mentioned something at least. So we'll see once we get to like season 9 when we
got a little ways to go.
Yeah, just a little bit. Which, side note, I started noticing that Supernatural actually does have a lot of like higher ups in law enforcement being female. Like, we have a lot of female sheriffs that they, like the Jody Mills, the Donna Hanscoms. I don't know if Kathleen was the sheriff in this episode, but I just refer to her as the sheriff. So whenever I say the sheriff, that's who I'm talking about, regardless.
She's established law enforcement, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we start out, there's a kid, he's watching TV, hears a noise outside, so he goes to investigate and sees a guy taking his trash out, and he gets attacked by something. And we do see a camper in the background. That'll come back later. One thing that I found interesting, because like right after this we cut to Sam and Dean posing as state police, and they're taking a statement. The kid was watching Godzilla vs. Mothra, which Dean thinks is the best of the Godzilla movies, and Sam likes the remake, which is just terrible. But anyways.
Wait, is he talking about like the Matthew Broderick remake?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sam disappointed in you. No offense to Matthew Broderick.
Well, that's just widely criticized. It's like anyways.
Anyway.
It's referenced that the man that was taken was Mr. Jenkins, which first thought that came to my mind was Scooby-Doo, because that's like
Mr. Jenkins!
Right, which in Scooby-Doo, the monsters are people.
Yeah.
Like, they're not really monsters. So is this like a bit of foreshadowing, letting people know for the first time watching, like, the monsters are people? So
generally, Mr. Jenkins is the monster, though, not the victim of them.
Right, but
I mean, still, I like the foreshadowing.
Sure.
Actually, I'd never put that together until you said it. It's like,
it's just, as I'm watching it, like, every time, like, they said, Mr. Jenkins, I heard, Mr. Jenkins! So anyways, we cut to a bar where they're discussing the case, and this is a common statement that we get from either Sam or Dean, but for once it happens to be true, as Dean's just like, could just be a kidnapping, might not be our kind of thing. And it actually isn't their kind of thing this time around. They still deal with it, but
it's because they're not really left with a choice. But we'll learn about that later.
So they're trying to think of what it could be. Dad had actually marked in the journal this area before because people had been going missing. And so they run through a list of potential things that it could be, whether it be phantom attackers, spring-heeled jack, or phantom gassers, which I had never heard of any of those. But we will hear a little bit, spoiler, we will hear a little bit about spring-heeled jack later on. So anyways, Sam wants to head back to the hotel Dean gives him a hard time being kind of a killjoy, but he's like, all right, head on outside. I got to take a leak. So Sam goes outside, and he gets scared by a cat, and then gets abducted. Dean goes outside, and also, like, looking back on the episode when Sam walks out, that camper's in the background again. Mm-hmm. When Dean comes out, that camper's gone. Well, pick up with a camper shell on.
I got you.
So Dean comes out, can't find Sam, freaking out a little bit. And he happens to see, there's a traffic camera. So he has an idea on, how to start looking for him. So we cut to Dean going to the sheriff to find answers about his cousin. He's trying to kind of play by the rules, but also not. He's still posing as state police.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's family. Like, gotta help him out. As they're looking up information, the sheriff's just like, oh, so then you heard that his brother Dean died and, was wanted for murder and all this thing. He's like, oh, yeah, he's kind of the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
But really handsome, though. Anyways.
Stupid skinwalkers.
From here, we cut to Sam. He's waking up in a cage, and he finds Mr. Jenkins. And, trying to kind of figure out what's going on, but we don't get a whole lot of information right at the start. From here, we cut back to Dean dealing with the sheriff. Again, since they're separated, we get a lot of the back and forth. She had gotten the pictures from the cameras, and, he's looking through, and he's just like, well, this isn't really what I was looking for. She's like, no. Flip to the next one. Look at the plates on that camper, which, like, it's all, like, grainy, and they're just, like, a photoshopped in, like, nice license plate is what it looked like to me. Anyways, and then we get the camper that was there and then disappeared, so we as an audience are like, that looks familiar. And then there's a convenient van that drives by with, like, engine troubles, which the kid that they were interviewing before mentioned, like a what was like a whiny growling sound that the monster made that took Mr. Jenkins. And so it was convenient timing for that van to drive by to make sure the light bulb clicked for Dean that, oh, he was taken by this camper. Let's go.
Let's go.
So we cut back to Sam and Mr. Jenkins as Sam's trying to figure out what it is that abducted him. So, he's just like, have you seen them? What do they look like? And, Jenkins is like, what's your problem, man?
What do you mean?
And, see for yourself, because one of them comes in, and then Sam is just like, oh man, trying to, like, still, like, not reveal to the audience what's going on, but, like, realizing it for himself. They're just like, they're just people. And he's like, yeah, man, what do you expect? And,
vampires.
Yeah. Or something. Well,
something.
Sam wouldn't be expecting vampires at this time.
Because they're extinct.
Yeah, so...
extinct.
Until, like, 3 episodes later.
Yes.
Anyways, Jenkins mentioned that he's concerned about Ned Beatty time, and Sam is like, I think you got bigger problems than that. For those that are unfamiliar, Ned Beatty's an actor. He's been in like 160 different things.
This poor dude.
But even though he's been in a lot of things, like, I looked him up just to see like what all he has been in.
He's put in work as an actor.
And as an actor, 160 titles to his credit. The one thing that people remember him for is his scene in Deliverance. Ugh. That's as far as I'm going on that. You can figure the rest out yourself.
I believe he's actually gotten into fist fights with people because he would be places and then folks would start squealing like a pig at him. And it just got so, like, I could be well off base with this because it's...
It wouldn't surprise me, though. People are terrible.
It was on the internet, and everything on the internet you read is true. But apparently people would do that, like, after the movie came out so frequently that eventually he got so fed up with it, he would just start fighting people. Or at least had gotten into 1 or 2 altercations with individuals because of them harassing him for his part in that movie, which... Dang it!
Yeah. We cut back to Dean and the sheriff. They're riding along, and Dean gets busted because she had ran the badge number that he gave as standard procedure. It's like, it looks like your badge came up as stolen. It's like, oh, really? It's like, and there's a picture of you, and like turns the monitor, and it's like a bigger black guy. He's like, I lost weight, and I had that the Michael Jackson disease where and so he's busted and is trying to talk her out of just flat out arresting him, and somehow it works, which we learn later. She's also lost someone, like her brother went missing, so she kind of understands and is like, we'll deal with that after we find Sam. Like, let's, we're close to figuring this out. Let's do this first. So we cut back to Sam and Jenkins. They're in the cages, and Sam's just pulling on, like, a power cable. Finally, like, something breaks loose, and, Jenkins is like, what is it? He's like, it's a bracket. Like, he seems, like, amazed by it, Sam does. Oh, thank God, a bracket.
Yay.
And then suddenly, the cage door opens, so he's like, I'm getting out of here. And Sam's like, I don't think you should do that. But Jenkins is like, no, I'm free. He was free to die.
I mean, live free or die. He does both.
Yeah. Anyways, so this is our first clue at what the Benders are actually planning. They're not planning Ned Beatty time. They're planning Ted Bundy time.
Neither one sounds fun.
No. We cut back to Dean and the sheriff, and this is where Dean actually learns that she lost her brother, and that's why she didn't arrest him.
Pretty solid instinct on her part.
Well, her instincts don't last because they find the turnoff where they're going to go to investigate, and Dean's like, I'm coming with you, and she's like, no, and he's like, yes, and she's like, fine, just promise you won't interfere, and he's like, I promise. She's like, shake on it, handcuffed. So she handcuffs him to the car, and Dean makes a reference at this point, I got to start carrying paper clips, because that's how he escaped handcuffs in the pilot episode.
Yep.
So the sheriff goes off, we see the camper again, and she has seen the picture, so she should know to be on her toes, like something could be going on, but she just goes up all haphazardly, knocks on the door, and then she meets Missy, the daughter. Now, Missy was actually played by Alexa Fast, and we see her come back in season 7 as Dean's Amazon daughter.
Huh.
Which is funny because later Missy tries to stab Dean, and then later Emma tries to stab Dean. So
this actress is making like 2 attempts at stabbing Dean. So it's kind of, but there's no canon way to go about that, is there? No,
I don't think so, because we don't really see her grow up, but we see like
her grow up.
Yeah. Also, technically, Missy didn't try to stab Dean. She stabbed his coat to the wall so he couldn't get away.
That's a fair point.
Anyways, as the sheriff's talking to Missy, creepy Bobby sneaks up behind her and knocks her out with a shovel. I reference him as creepy Bobby for a couple of reasons. One, he's creepy. He's kind of dressed like Bobby would dress, and also they reuse the Bender's house as Bobby's house later on. So if you look at the setup of a lot of things, they do a really good job on like completely like redoing sets.
Well, that'd explain like the
different.
big car yard and everything they have. I mean, it's not just for victims, but it's also going to become.
I don't know if it's the exterior much,
the interior,
but the interior, and there was like most of it like it's all shabby and like even less well done than Bobby's house. But there was when Dean's walking through, there's a set of like double doors that like slide together shut, and I do remember those from Bobby's house. Anyway,
really nice reuse of a set piece, though.
Yeah. So, Pa's not happy. He sends Jared and Lee out to, get the car and bring it in because, all this. Well, Dean's still handcuffed to the car, so he's like reaching for the antenna and uses the antenna to escape just in time before Jared and Lee show up.
Instead of Batmaning in, he Batmans out.
Yes. Once again, we get a clearer picture now of Lee Bender, which we have seen before 3 episodes ago as Tall Deputy during our Faith episode.
Yeah, this is the one where we've canonically said that it's possible that it could be the same.
Which it's referenced in the episode that they normally take like 1 or 2 people a year to keep the law out. So I could see like Lee making pilgrimages back home, taking his vacation once or twice a year to go and, go hunting with the family.
Go see the family.
We cut back to Sam and the sheriff. Sheriff wakes up and finds Sam, and then Dean shows up and, is trying to find a way to open it, but like he needs a key in order to open the cages because they're well built, and gives Sam a hard time because he got taken out by people. And, he's quoted as later saying, demons I get, but people, man,
Yeah.
Dean also mentions that, there was like a dozen cars out back, and the sheriff's brother's car was one of them. So it's personal. So Dean's sneaking through the house and is trying to find the keys. He finds the keys, but also finds Missy. He tries to help, and he's like, I'm not going to hurt you. And she's like, yeah, I know. Daddy! And then she stabs him to the wall, which she calls for Pa, but Jared and Lee show up, and then they fight with Dean. And, he's like, I'm going to kick your ass, and then you're next. And then Pa shows up and knocks him out. He's interrogating him, trying to figure out if more people are going to be showing up. And then, Dean now learns why it is, that they're abducting people, because they like to hunt. He's talking back to him a fair amount,
Doing the Dean thing.
Yeah, being Dean. And then starts, playing with fire as a red hot poker comes into play. And,
apparently they also like torture.
Yes. Then Pa makes him choose, who are we going to hunt next? And so finally Dean's just like, fine, the guy. Take the guy. Well, and then Pa's just like, shoot him in the cage. And then once you kill him, kill the girl too. I'm trying to watch language a little bit. Keep it family friendly. He doesn't say girl though. So we cut to, Lee going to kill Sam. And Sam uses the magical bracket to help him distract Lee so he can attack or whatever, but multiple gunshots are going on, and at this point Dean turns into Pennywise. I don't know if you were reminded of that or not, but Dean's tied to the chair and he's like, if you hurt my brother, I'll kill you all! Kill you all! Kill you all! It's like, oh Jesus. In fact,
or at least Georgie Pennywise. Down.
If copyright will allow it, I'm going to try to get the sound clips from both of those. Just because I can distinctly, that's...
just mash them together.
Yeah, because, what is it, like in the library or something with Pennywise talking to Richie?
Yeah.
I'll kill you all. Kill you all.
Wait, are we talking Skarsgård Pennywise?
No,
we're talking. They're looking through the book, and Pennywise jumps off the lamppost and comes running in and
Good.
jumps up.
That'll make it much easier to find when I'm looking
Kill
for
you
that
all.
soundbite.
I'll kill you all. I will kill you all!
I'll kill you all. I'll drive you crazy and I'll kill you all.
Anyways, so Pa and Jared go to check on Lee, and he's in a cage now, and power's out. So they're like, we gotta find these people. So now the hunters have become the hunted, kind of.
I mean, normally when that phrase is used, it's in a scarier context for our protagonists. Now it's like, hunters become the hunted.
So in this process, we see the sheriff kind of sneaking into a cabinet is what it looks like, but she doesn't. It just tricks Jared into shooting a cabinet and later shooting Pa, and also he gets attacked by a spider monkey basically.
Yeah. Although when he shoots Pa, I let out, the first time I saw this episode, I let out an audible yes. Oh, that was a good feeling moment.
Anyways, the spider monkey is just when he shoots the cabinet, the sheriff just drops down from the rafters. No noises, but that's what I heard. Ran out of memory, so it stopped in the middle. So we gotta go back a little bit, and that's where we left off.
Yep.
So we're gonna try to recreate what we had established up until that point, but the magic is lost.
Gotta build the tension back up.
Anyways, there was no noise. That's just what I heard in my mind. That's actually probably going to be like the start of the episode. You know what? The engine's not even running right now.
It all died. Everything died. Phone died, the car died, my spirit and soul died. At least the car can come back to life. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Anyways, there was no noise. That's what I heard in my head when I saw that happen. So, anyways, we then get Pa's not dead. He just got shot in the shoulder, and so the sheriff has a gun on Pa and is telling Sam, "Go ahead, I got it." And then Sam's a little, but he leaves anyways. And then the sheriff's asking, like, you took my brother. Like, why did you do all this? And he starts laughing. He's like, 'cause it's fun. And then there were gunshots because he tried to escape. We don't see him try to escape, but I believe the sheriff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt her. Not at all.
So at this point, the sheriff lets Sam and Dean go. It's just, FBI and people are going to be here, so you probably better not be. Dean's like, I hate to press our luck, but we're in the middle of nowhere. Can we get a ride? Start walking. If you see a headlight stuck, it's him. Okay, yep, that's good. We're out of here.
Goodbye.
And then we get Sam giving Dean a hard time because he was taken out by Missy. So, Dean was giving him a hard time earlier.
Got taken out by people.
Yeah.
He got taken out by little people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then before we turn it over, just as a reference, which you're going to touch on a little bit, this episode was actually inspired by a real-life family from the 1800s, the Bender family that murdered people out of a hotel, I believe.
Yeah.
And so let's start with that and then move on from there.
So, I mean, really the comparison between the family is that they were called the Bender family, and they murdered people as a family. The family that murders together stays together.
Case closed.
And but that's really where the comparisons end. With the Bender family, Kate, the youngest daughter of the Bender family, was rumored to have psychic abilities, and that would actually bring people into the hotel to see her psychic abilities or to test her psychic abilities. And then sometimes during dinner, one of the brothers would sneak basically through a secret door, get behind some curtains, pull open the curtains, crack him on the back of the head with a hammer.
Surprise!
Surprise! And then just to ensure that they died, Ma or Kate would come up behind them and then slit their throat. And then they would dispose of the body. There were several members of the family. There was Pa, who was thought to not speak any English whatsoever and speak very gutturally and very... And so there was this idea that they actually were not native English speakers and perhaps a German family, but there's not a lot of records about the Bender family up to this point. Ma apparently spoke some English. The brother was thought to be a half-wit because he would only ever mumble under his breath and spoke very, very infrequently. Kate apparently could speak with very little to no accent and spoke very fluent, perfect English, which is why she was best for luring travelers in. She also apparently was having an incestuous relationship with her brother and espoused the ideas of free love before the 60s.
Oh boy.
And yeah, but that's really where the comparisons end, especially with the Bender family in the supernatural world. We've got a group of people that they are hunting their victims. They're actually hunting them. Serial killers could be considered hunting their victims, but this is more of actually chasing after game rather than going after a victim or stalking a victim. Stuff like this can be traced back to the Spartans of ancient Greece. All of us know the Spartans, the 300 who fought in the Battle of Thermopylae.
Heard of them?
Yeah. So what they had an entire slave class in their groups called the Helots. And the Helots were considered property, but there was also, I believe, outnumbering them 3-1. There were a ton of Helots against Spartans. In fact, there were several uprisings. After one of the uprisings, they decided that one of the best ways that they could ensure to stop uprisings is that as a coming of age for Spartan boys, you were to go out, track, and kill a Helot. So they were supposed to go out and not be discovered. They were supposed to go out, hunt, sneak, and then kill them with their bare hands and then disappear into the night and not be seen.
I'm Batman.
A very violent
I'm Man-Bat.
You're Frank Miller's Batman. And then it's all over.
You know, side note, I've looked back on some of those old movies, and Batman kills people. Like,
It's just
in the
straight
cartoon,
up.
he may have had like that thing of like, you know, he doesn't kill people, but like Tim Burton's Batman,
There's just no way people are surviving some of the hits they take.
it's not even that. Like, I had forgotten about some of the finer details, but there's like a factory that Batman just like drives into and like just throws some bombs, just like blows up the factory that's full of henchmen.
And they all just get
Yeah.
right there. I mean,
Anyways.
the original Batman didn't have any qualms about killing anyone. Anyway, so as we look at human history, there have been still recorded instances of actual hunting. Some criminals were actually given stag skin and then released into the woods to be hunted with dogs.
Oh.
Which of all the ways to go, and there's a lot of ways I don't want to go, hunted by dogs is definitely the top of the list of not fun. I prefer in my sleep, but that's besides the point. So one of the most famous instances, not of real life, but of fiction, but has influenced other fiction throughout the years, was The Most Dangerous Game, which was a novel written about a big game hunter who would become imprisoned and then released by a wealthy man who decided that he was going to hunt this big game hunter for sport. And it follows the back and forth of this cat and mouse game of one man trying to survive while the other one is hunting him.
Right.
This has gone on to inspire a great deal of other bits of literature and other works of fiction. One of the ones we actually just brought up earlier in the episode, Deliverance, in which we've got a group of, I guess, rednecks or hillbillies that are hunting, you know, city folk in the woods and doing some ungodly, unspeakable things to them. There is one instance of a serial killer using these methods to kill and dispose of his victims, and that's Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen was...
A singer?
He seemed to be a...
No?
No. He seemed to be like a normal family man, but what he would do is he would go out to bars, he would go out to strip clubs, and he would pick up what he thought were bad girls. Like he would decide in his head if a woman was morally good or bad. If she was bad, he would then kidnap them and then
jury, and executioner.
He would kidnap them, oftentimes sexually assault them, and then kill them. But there were several instances of him kidnapping the women, and he lived up in Alaska, and would fly into the woods to an old hunting cabin. You see, Robert Hansen was an avid big game hunter. That's how he found his escapism. He was very much an isolationist. He was very much an extreme introvert. And he found solace in big game hunting. He would later move on to the most dangerous game, which is people. After flying these women up to his cabin, he would then release them, generally after abusing and assaulting them. He would then release them into the wilderness and hunt them for hours, if not days at a time, giving them a bit of a head start so he could. They found over 17 different burial sites for these women after he was finally caught. The way he was caught was as he was trying to load up the cockpit of his plane, a woman who he had kidnapped saw her opportunity and she took off running. As one would do if a police officer saw a woman running down the street looking completely beat up, wearing very little to no clothing, and handcuffed, they stopped to figure out what was going on.
Sure.
As they were interviewing her, they were able to match the descriptions to Robert Hansen and were even able to identify the psychological profile that went along with them, and he was arrested and then I believe died in 2014.
Jesus.
The murder spree itself would last from 1971 to 1983, in which 17 women were abducted and killed. Now, it goes one step further from what Robert Hansen was doing. There has been an academic paper written about the idea that in the year 2200, something like that, 2200, that's the one. In the year 2200, it's been espoused that eventually we will hit a point where the economy will be so riddled with wealth inequality, with a top percentage of people unable to be touched, and so many different poor people, and also a shortage of resources, that it is, according to this academic, completely likely that we will start to see tourism and big game hunting of people. At least this is what he is espousing in his research paper.
There's a movie about that. Kind of. It takes place like in the 90s, not in the 2200s, but it's called Hard Target. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep. So we see a lot of different references to this idea that, you know, a long pig or man suddenly becoming the next thing to be hunted. There's been a Criminal Minds episode about this very thing. As I mentioned before, several different movies, several different stories, all coming from this idea of being hunted, as well as a couple real life applications of it.
Let's see.
The bright side is that the weakness to this is very, very easy. Normally we have to go through and take a look at, would this work?
Sure.
Monsters, salt versus ghosts,
Right.
things like that.
So in Supernatural, the sheriff shot Pop. Would that work?
If it was in the heart and the brain, probably.
Oh, good.
Or the guts. Or a major artery. Or really anywhere that he could get gangrene and yeah, it's going to be really easy to
Good.
combat these monsters. Really, even a blunt object works pretty well, applied to the right spot.
All right, I got you.
Or a sharp object applied to the right spot.
So the lore's matching up.
The
with
lore is
reality?
matching
Okay.
up perfectly with
Excellent.
reality. I mean, if we just look at Deliverance.
Let's not.
No, let's not. Well, we're gonna go ahead and avoid that. But what's kind of nice is that in any way that they can kill their victims, the victims can also kill them.
Ah, perfect.
Excellent. So what are we looking at next time?
Well, what about Spring-Heeled Jack?
Oh, Spring-Heeled Jack. That's right. The one monster that gets brought up once and then never mentioned again. So Spring-Heeled Jack, in places like Liverpool and England, was a little bit of like a Mothman-esque character, a little bit of a boogeyman. And also, Spring-Heeled Jack looked absolutely fabulous. I did that for the picture.
I know what you're doing. I know the pictures show up right here.
But so Spring-Heeled Jack was thought to be this, kind of Mothman, boogeyman kind of a creature, a very much an urban legend out of that area, that was thought to have steel claws to rend flesh, dark red glowing eyes that would inspire fear, bat wings. There's actually been one or two things that have been inspired by him. In one of the Elder Scrolls games, you can actually get the boots of Spring-Heeled Jack, which lets you run faster.
Interesting.
In the video game itself. But Spring-Heeled Jack, as fun as he was and as awesome as he looks, the Benders and Robert Handsome just seem to have a little bit more bite to them. However, Spring-Heeled Jack is pretty awesome.
He does look pretty cool.
He does.
I'll give him that.
just that picture in itself. So where are we going from here?
Well,
or did I forget anything else?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. That's fair.
However, next time we will actually be revisiting some old characters coming back and dealing with some shadow monsters.
Ooh. Genies, right?
No,
No.
Meg comes back.
Oh yeah.
Shadow monsters.
Shadow monster. I think it's a type of gin.
I don't know.
know.
It was like super ancient in the episodes, so hopefully there's like something you can actually look up
Well,
about
no
it.
more next week.
Hopefully. All right, until next time, stay safe, buckle up, and
We got work to do.